Have you ever looked around your home and thought, I want less, but I just can't move the way I used to? You're not alone. After 60, bending down, lifting boxes, or even reaching that high shelf can feel like a mountain. And the truth is, most decluttering advice out there assumes we can still do all that. But what if your body's asking for something gentler? Let me tell you something I don't often say out loud. There was a moment, 2 years ago, when I stood in my living room, surrounded by papers, knickknacks, and old blankets, and I just sat down and cried. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I physically couldn't do it the way I used to. That moment led me here, to 10 quiet, powerful tricks that helped me clear space without hurting myself. These aren't fancy. They're not for show. They're simple, safe, and smart, and they work, even on your lowest energy day. And just so you know, number 9 was the one that surprised me most. It made me feel more in control than I'd felt in years. Stay with me to hear it. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? And how has your energy level or daily rhythm been lately? We read every comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. All right, let's start at the very first step. Number 1, the reach-only rule. Have you ever stood in the middle of a room, looked up at a shelf or down at a drawer, and thought, if only my body could do what my mind wants? What if you gave yourself permission to only declutter what you can comfortably reach while seated? That's the heart of the reach-only rule. Here's how it works. You sit somewhere safe and stable, your favorite chair, the edge of your bed, or even your walker seat, and you choose one small zone, a surface, a drawer at waist height, or even the top of a side table. You don't reach high, you don't bend low. You just stay where your body feels supported and sort what's already within your reach. That's it. My friend Carol, 72, used to say she felt like her house was slipping out of her hands. The high cupboards were no longer safe, and the low cabinets made her knees ache just thinking about them. So she started small. She began with the basket on her coffee table, then the drawer next to her bed. And slowly, one reachable space at a time, she began to feel in control again. She told me once, it's not that I'm lazy, it's that I'm learning to be kind to my body. And I think that's something many of us carry quietly. This fear that if we slow down, we'll fall behind. Or worse, be seen as giving up. But here's the truth. Working with your limits isn't defeat, it's wisdom. So if you've been putting off decluttering because the task feels too big or your body too tired, try this. Start with just one reachable place. No ladders, no bending, just what's right in front of you. You can do this too. And in a moment, I'll show you a trick that makes this even easier, especially if someone can bring things to you. Here 2, the lap tray declutter. What if decluttering didn't mean getting up at all, but inviting the mess to come to you? That's the magic of the lap tray declutter. You sit comfortably, feet planted, back supported, and a loved one or helper brings you a small drawer, box, or even a Ziploc bag filled with odds and ends. You place it on a sturdy tray on your lap and calmly sort through. Keep, toss, donate. No strain, no standing, just you and the tray. When my neighbor Evelyn, 74, had hip surgery, she felt like her whole home became inaccessible overnight. But her daughter brought her the junk drawer from the kitchen, crumbs, batteries, loose rubber bands and all, and placed it on a tray on Evelyn's lap while she rested on the sofa. Evelyn laughed as she told me, I hadn't seen the bottom of that drawer in 20 years, and I cleared it without leaving the couch. Here's why it works. It gives you control without the physical overwhelm, and it transforms clutter into a conversation. Evelyn even said her granddaughter joined her, asking what half the old gadgets were. There's often an invisible grief behind clutter, the fear that we can't manage it anymore. that we've lost the upper hand. But this little tray trick brings that power back. Gently, practically, kindly. So find a tray, a basket, even a cutting board will do. Let your clutter come to you, bit by bit, and clear just what fits on your lap. You can do this too. And next, we'll dust without bending and without ever touching the floor. Stick with me. 3. The stick and sock dusting trick. Ever looked at the dust lining the baseboards or shelves and thought, how on earth am I going to reach that now? You're not alone. But what if all you needed was a stick and a sock? That's the trick. Grab any long-handled stick, could be a broom handle, a back scratcher, even an old mop, and slide a clean, dry sock over one end. Secure it with a rubber band if needed. That's your new dusting wand. Sit in your chair and swipe under the furniture, along low walls, or behind hard-to-reach places without ever bending down. It's safe, it's effective, and oddly satisfying. Ruth, 76, who has arthritis in both knees, told me once with a smile, I may not be able to kneel anymore, but I can still make my shelves shine. She even made it a weekly routine while listening to her favorite 50s radio station. That little act brought her pride because she did it herself. Here's the quiet fear many older women carry, that one day they'll need help with everything, that their independence will fade inch by inch. But tricks like this, they return a little bit of that freedom, a little spark of, I've still got it. You can do this too. And now, let's look at something hidden in plain sight that just might be the key to calm, the spinning secret inside your cabinets. 4. The Lazy Susan Reset. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually used what's tucked at the back of your corner cabinet? If you're like most of us, it's been years. That's why the Lazy Susan isn't just a kitchen tool. It's a decluttering lifeline. Here's how it works. Instead of bending, reaching, or pulling things out one by one, you use a spinning tray, a Lazy Susan, on any flat surface, especially inside lower cabinets. You sit nearby, open the cabinet door, and simply rotate the tray. Everything is accessible with just a flick of the wrist. You can even take the tray out and place it on your lap for sorting, like we talked about in the last trick. My friend Dottie, 81, said, I thought Lazy Susans were just for salt and pepper, but now mine holds my canned goods, meds, and even sewing tools. I feel like I have a helper in the kitchen. Sometimes the unspoken worry is this. What if my house becomes a maze of things I used to use but now can't reach? But that worry can melt away with one little spin. You can do this too. Next, I'll show you how to make your chair the smartest decluttering station in the house. No fancy tools required. Stay with me. 5. Seated paper sorting station. Do you ever feel buried under old papers? Receipts, letters, insurance files? Yet the thought of dragging it all out feels like too much? That's where the seated sorting station comes in. You don't need a desk or even a table. All you need is a tray, a basket of papers, and a chair you love. Pick a time of day when you're usually sitting anyway. Maybe after breakfast or during your favorite TV show. Bring over a shallow basket of papers. Place a sturdy tray or large clipboard across your lap and set a simple goal. 5 papers. That's it. Sort them into keep, shred, or toss piles. If you don't finish, no pressure. You've already made progress. My neighbor Janet, who's 78 and recovering from back surgery, said this small habit changed everything. I used to stare at that pile and think, I'll never get through it. But once I gave myself permission to do just a few at a time from my recliner, I stopped feeling so behind. Behind every pile of paper is a quiet fear that we'll lose track of something important, that we won't be able to manage it on our own anymore. But truthfully, control comes back one paper at a time. This isn't about finishing. It's about beginning again and again with kindness. You can do this too. Coming up, I'll share a little rule I call the one-arm basket that helps keep clutter at bay before it even piles up. 6. The one-arm basket rule. What if one simple habit could stop clutter before it ever settles? Here's the trick. The one-arm basket. It's just a small open tote, something you can lift easily with one arm, even on a low-energy day. This basket becomes your roaming tidy-up. Once a day or once a week, you walk or roll through one area of your home and drop in anything that doesn't belong. No sorting yet, no decisions, just collect. Then, when you're seated and comfortable, go through the basket slowly and decide where things truly belong, or if they belong at all. Evelyn, 82, told me with a laugh, "I used to carry things in my walker tray, but now I just use my little basket. It gives me a reason to move and a sense of order without lifting more than I should." Behind the clutter, there's often a quiet question. Am I still in charge of my space? This trick answers that with a gentle yes, because when your tools match your body, tidying no longer feels like a punishment. It feels like care. You can do this too. And next, we'll talk about how a fridge door, yes, just the front, can be your next calming win. Chapter 7, the 5 things only rule. Do you ever walk into a room and feel a strange heaviness? Not because there's a big mess, but because everything feels too much? A shelf full of knickknacks you haven't dusted in months. A side table crowded with chargers, lotions, papers, glasses. You want to tidy, but you don't know where to start. That's where the 5 things only rule saved me. It's simple. Every surface in your home, your dresser, your kitchen counter, even the little bench by the entry, gets to keep only 5 visible items. Just 5 you pick. The rest either finds a home in a drawer or says goodbye. Start small. I chose my nightstand. I had 12 things on it, none of which made me feel calm. So I took everything off, wiped it down, then returned just 5. My reading lamp, my Bible, a lavender rollerball, a framed photo of my mother, and my water tumbler. That's it? And when I looked at it, I felt a deep exhale in my chest. My friend Evelyn, who's 70 and lives alone after her hip surgery, told me something powerful. The more I keep out, the more I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something with it. When I narrowed it down to 5, it stopped yelling at me. It just sat there, peaceful. There's a silent fear many women carry, especially as we age, that we've lost control of our homes. Not because we're incapable, but because the things have grown faster than our energy. The 5 things only rule gently reminds us we are still in charge. We can choose what deserves to stay visible in our space, and more importantly, what doesn't. You can do this too. Try it with just one spot, a coffee table, a bathroom shelf, your kitchen island. And if it feels good, let it ripple. Small actions like this don't just organize our homes. They remind us we're allowed to live in them, not under them. Now, if you're feeling like you don't want to do it alone, don't worry. The next trick is for those moments when you just need a voice on the line and a friend by your side. 8. The phone declutter buddy. Have you ever noticed how doing something hard feels a little easier when someone's just there? Not helping necessarily, just being with you. That's the idea behind the phone declutter buddy. It's one of the gentlest tricks I know, and it's helped more women over 60 than I can count. Here's how it works. Choose a small decluttering task, maybe going through your purse, tidying one drawer, or sorting your meds. Then call someone you trust. Tell them you're just going to quietly sort while you chat. It doesn't have to be a serious talk. You can talk about your day, the grandkids, the weather, or even sit in silence. It's the presence that changes everything. My neighbor Judith, who's 78 and recently widowed, started doing this every Tuesday with her daughter. One week it was her junk drawer. The next week It was a tote bag full of recipes. It felt like the first time I wasn't alone with it, she told me. I didn't even realize how heavy it all felt until someone's voice helped carry it. We don't always talk about how lonely the clutter can feel. It's not just things. It's memories, it's regret. It's the weight of, someday I'll get to this. But a voice on the line, especially one that loves you, makes space feel lighter. It brings you back into connection, not just with your home, but with yourself. You can do this too. And if you don't know who to call, think small. One kind person. A friend, a neighbor, someone at church. You don't have to explain everything. Just say, "Would you stay on the phone with me while I go through a few things?" You'd be surprised how many people say yes. And in the next trick, we'll talk about something equally powerful: how to restore a sense of ease and dignity at the end of each day, even if you didn't get to everything. 9. The don't return it bin. Do you have items lying around that don't really belong? Things you borrowed, picked up, or meant to deal with later? A book from a neighbor, a Tupperware container from your daughter, a magazine from the waiting room. What if I told you those tiny things are quietly exhausting you? Here's a gentle solution that's helped many women feel lighter without even standing up: the don't return it bin. You place a small basket somewhere reachable, on a side table, under your nightstand, near your favorite chair. Anytime you come across something that belongs to someone else or no longer serves you, it goes in the bin. You don't put it back just for now. You let it go for good. When I first tried this, I found 4 pairs of reading glasses I didn't even like, a scarf a friend left behind years ago, and a souvenir mug I kept out of guilt. I put them in the bin. 2 days later, I handed the mug off to a neighbor. The next week, I donated the glasses. No bending, no rushing, just small, firm release. My friend Carol, 69, told me, "I always thought decluttering had to hurt, but this bin made it feel kind, like I was giving myself room to breathe." And that's the heart of it. Our homes don't need to be perfect. They just need to be honest. You can do this too. Even a single object in the bin is a step toward calm. And speaking of calm, there's one drawer that brings the deepest peace when you finally create it. Let's talk about that next. Camper 10. The legacy drawer. What happens to the stories, the wisdom, the little notes that mattered, when we're no longer here to hold them? That question used to keep me up some nights. Not out of fear, but out of love. I didn't want my family sifting through piles of papers, trying to make sense of me. So I created what I now call my legacy drawer. It's just one shallow drawer within arm's reach that holds the essentials, not just legal documents, but legacy pieces. My favorite recipe card in my handwriting, a photo of me at 22 on the porch in Tennessee, a letter to my granddaughter about what helped me through hard seasons. My will is in there, my medical info too. But so is my heart. You don't need to fill it all at once. Start with one piece this week: a poem you love, a list of passwords, a memory that still makes you smile. My dear friend Joan, who's 82, says, "It's not for them to sort. It's for me to leave with peace." There's a hidden fear many women over 60 carry, that we'll be remembered by our mess instead of our meaning. But the legacy drawer turns that fear into something gentle, something sacred. You can do this too. And I promise, it's one of the kindest gifts you'll ever give. Now, take a breath with me, because in just a moment, we'll wrap everything up the same way we've been decluttering: slow, intentional, and filled with grace. What if letting go didn't mean losing control, but regaining it? Quietly, gently, in your own way. You don't have to declutter like the women on TV. You don't need to stand for hours or lift a single heavy box. You don't need anyone's timeline but your own. You just need a moment, a chair, a breath, and the choice to do one small thing. I remember a day last winter. My knees ached. My energy was low. I looked around the living room and thought, I can't fix this. But instead of quitting, I picked up one envelope from the floor and put it in my lap. That was all. And somehow, it was enough. The next day, I picked up 2 more. A week later, that corner looked like a different home, not because I forced myself to clean, but because I gave myself permission to try, seated, slow, and supported. One woman, 74, wrote to me last month. She said, I always thought I had to move more to keep up with my home, but now I realize my home can meet me where I am, not the other way around. And maybe that's the shift we all need. So if you're sitting in your favorite chair right now, maybe with a cup of tea or a soft blanket nearby, just ask yourself, what's within reach that I don't need anymore? What's one item I can bless and release? You don't have to tackle the whole house. You don't even have to stand up. Just soften the space around you, bit by bit. You can do this too. And if this video offered you any comfort or clarity, I'd love to hear from you. What's one area in your home that feels lighter after today? Let us know in the comments. Your story might be the exact encouragement someone else needs tonight. Until next time, be kind to your space, and even kinder to yourself.